Greetings folks, today I will go through the various birth signs that you can take in Oblivion Remastered and which one are best for which archetype. First we have the Serpent. The reason why the Serpent is really not that great is that what it does is to cast a spell once a day, removes poison from you, but also drains your fatigue. So it's really not that great. Moreover, in case you want to replace the Serpent, you can take Serpent Birthday Doomstone, which will give you a similar power, but with a stronger poison effect. And more importantly, it doesn't have a fatigue penalty when casting it. And even then, I would argue that it's really not that valuable. Next one is the Shadow. So, the problem with the Shadow is that it's a birth sign that, again, will only give you daily power. In this case, is 1 minute of invisibility. The problem with this is that by mid-game and late-game, you already have access to better sources of invisibility. You have potions in case you're not a stealth character. You have illusion spells in case you're a mage. So it's really not worth to give up an entire birth sign just for the Shadow. Next one that is outright not good is gonna be the Lover. What the Lover does, once again, gives you a daily power that allows you to paralyze an enemy for 10 seconds at the cost of 120 points of fatigue. The problem with these birth signs is the same of the Serpent. You can access the Serpent birth sign Doomstone with Cobra Dance. You can get a paralyzation for 5 seconds, which is straight up better than this one, because it doesn't have any penalty associated. Moreover, you're giving up a birth sign just for this, so absolutely not. Another useless one is gonna be the Tower. The reason why the Tower is not good, is despite giving you 2 daily powers, is that the Tower allows you to open only an average lock once a day. Average locks are very easy to open even for non-thieves, so that's pretty bad. Moreover, the other power, while it's kinda interesting, having a source of damage reflection, it's only 5% for 2 minutes. It's not a lot overall. It's really a shame because the Tower could be much more interesting and I wish that they had reworked the Tower a little bit. Okay, now we are entering the territory of signs that maybe they are not super good, but they can still be used. So, the Ritual gives you 2 power. One is a strong healing, 200 points, and the other one allows you to turn undead up to level 25, if I remember correctly. The problem with the Ritual is that there are better options, and I would not pick the Ritual neither for a Mage or a Stealth Archer. So it's there just in case, but it's not that amazing. Mage. So any archetype can take the Mage, however, it's not gonna be insanely amazing, because the Mage is the basic neutral option. Taking the Mage doesn't have any downside. It gives you 50 points of magicka, but that is it. It's very forgiving to take this one, because the other Mage sign will force you to get some equipment to mitigate the effects. Would I advise taking this sign? Yes, you can take this sign, however, just for the fact that you don't have major drawbacks. So I would still consider the Mage to be good. Okay, next one up is gonna be the Steed. It can be argued that the Steed could go in Stealth Archer as well. I do not advise that for a simple reason. What it does, it will give you a 20-point flat increase in the speed attribute. Why is the Steed useful on Warrior? If you go full heavy armor and you play, for example, Orc, and you want some quality of life, the Steed is extra speed that you can get. Is it amazing? Well, not really. I pick this all if you're playing a Warrior and you just want to be a little faster. However, the Steed is not completely useless, can also be used by Stealth Archers, but personal preference, I would not use it on a Stealth Archer. Okay, the Lady. The Lady will give you 2 benefits. Increased willpower, so it means magicka regeneration, and increased endurance, which means more fatigue and more health. The Lady can be good because it allows you better regen. Why is the Lady better than the Mage, in my opinion? It depends on the difficulty that you play. In lower difficulty, usually fights don't last that long. However, if you play on Master, you will notice that you cannot just go there and one-shot everything with a single spell. So the Lady still has a purpose. It can also be used on Warrior. It has benefits also if you play a Battle Mage. The Lord. This is kinda hard for me to put. It got reworked. It used to give vulnerability to fire, which is really not ideal. And if you use it to pair the Lord, maybe with an Altmare, which already had elemental vulnerability, it would have been so bad, especially early on. The Lord is an option. Now it gives you 15% magic resist, and more importantly, a flat 15% armor. 15% armor doesn't sound like a lot. It's almost like having a shield on, and with the extra magic resistance, I would say that it's a very good choice. It can be taken as a mage as well, to be a little more tanky. It can also be taken to mitigate certain downsides. If you're an Altmare and you want a little more resistance, could be. However, this is not the best option in general, in my opinion, but it's still good. I would still say that this is very good. Warrior. What the Warrior does, give you a flat 10% point increase in endurance and strength. It means more damage that you can take. It also means more stuff you can carry around. It's less important to have the Warrior early on in game, in the Remastered, because they changed the increases of health added by endurance retroactively. Warrior is gonna be great. The Thief. Consider the Thief to be the best sign you can take on Stealth Archer, and there is not even a competition. The reason for this is very simple. The Thief will give you not 1, not 2, but 3 flat stats increase by 10 points to agility, speed, but more importantly, luck. The issue with the luck is that it is the slowest attribute to raise, because it's not associated to any skill. You cannot level up your luck at all. So this means that there is an argument to use the Thief everywhere, okay? Now, of course, this doesn't mean that the other signs are weak at all, especially if you are not a Thief. You will find the agility a little less useful to you. What luck does is that it boosts the efficiency of all the all-rotor skills, okay? So what does this mean is that luck will modify the effectiveness of all your skills except 3: acrobatics, athletics, and speechcraft. Now, acrobatics and athletics are fairly easy to level up. Now, the last 2 signs for mage, picking one of those signs will change how you build up your mage a lot. So you need to be careful. One is the opposite of the other. So think about this as a spectrum. This is why I cannot say, oh, this is better or the Atronach is better. Okay, first one is the Atronach. So what the Atronach does is that it gives you the highest amount of magicka of all signs, 150. That is 100 points more than the mage. So keep that in mind. This alone is like 3 mages on you. It also gives you 50% spell absorption. To explain to you spell absorption, you can convert the spells that hit you into magicka, and you can even avoid a part of the damage that you're taking depending on your spell absorption. What is the downside? You cannot regenerate magicka anymore. So how do you solve this problem? Well, first of all, you can combine this sign with the High Elf and have the most amount of magicka in the game of any build. You can build up your spell absorption even furtherly with gear. Moreover, if you don't play mage, this can also be good on a warrior, because you can reach easily 100 absorption, and then you become a god against mages. So this is not just a sign to be used for mages. Moreover, when you don't fight mages and you are playing a pure mage and you spam your distraction abilities, this is gonna be a struggle, especially early on. Okay, last one. The Apprentice is the polar opposite of the Atronach. It will give you 100 extra points in magicka, which is double the mage. However, this has a cost. Permanent 100% weakness to magic. This is gonna be your doom if you do not use this correctly. Mages will shred you. Do not take this on a warrior, in my opinion. You can still work around this. And there are cases where you should take the Apprentice. For example, if you're a Breton and you have innate natural resistance, you can halve the penalty of this. You can always build up magic resistance to solve this problem. So the constant effect between Atronach and Apprentice is that both will require some building around. Atronach is better for High Elf, or maybe you want to become Breton for even more resistance. And then you have Apprentice, where it's better for Breton. Would I advise other races to pick the Apprentice? Yes, with enough gear, you can build around everything. This is just a general guide for the bird sign that you can use. TLDR, Thief for Stealth Archer. For Warrior, Warrior, Lord, Mage. If you do not want to bother looking for gear or play on lower difficulty, Mage or Apprentice. Mob don't hit that hard anyway. And that is pretty much it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. If this video does well, I will do more Oblivion guides. If you disagree, let me know in the comment. I know that some of these suggestions I made are quite personal. Some people believe that the Steed is completely useless. Anyway, have a good one. Have fun playing Oblivion. See you.